for being here. Just starting off, I guess, looking back at App State, disappointed in our performance. We did a lot of things that allowed them to have a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter. Not disappointed by our effort and our resiliency to find a way to get the win at the end, where all three phases had to make something happen. Offense had to make the big drive. Special teams had to make the kick. Defense had to make the stop to secure victory, and then offense did a great job running out a little extra time with slow knees. It's a peculiar game when you run through our plan to win metrics. We won the turnover battle. We outscored them by 7 in turnovers. We won the explosive play battle. We dominated field position. I think over 247 yards of hidden yardage advantage over them. It simply came down to scoring opportunities. We had the ball in the red zone 5 times. You got a chance to get 35 points. We got it down there 5 times. We came away with 20. That's like 53% of the available points that are down there. A good offense should be around the 80 mark. That's our goal. And then we had 8 total drives that penetrated their 40-yard line. 8 drives. We averaged 3 points a drive the 8 times we had it there. We had a chance to really put the game away with a touchdown after the great punt return by Tyreek Stevenson. And not doing those things kept separation from getting on the scoreboard. You combine that with, we have a touchdown taken away that would have made it 16-7, and you turn around and allow a kickoff return for a touchdown. So 16-7 us turns into 14-12 them, and really from that point on, it was going to be difficult for us. So like I said, a lot for us as coaches to fix. We've got to get it better at, but again, proud of the way that we found a way to win the game at the end. Michigan State is started the season playing as well as anybody in the country. They've been dynamic. They've the numbers are putting up on offense, defense, really in all 3 phases. Catch your eye, blowing people out in the first half of games versus a good Northwestern team, and then just absolutely outclassed Youngstown State this past weekend. So much improved team from what they were a year ago. Dynamic running back. Multiple running backs, but the transfer from Wake Forest has obviously had a huge start to the season. They've got 3 wideouts to me that are all really, really good players. They've got a couple tight ends that can really attack you. But I really think the quarterback is making it all go. And he's got ability with his arm, and he's also got ability with his feet. Will pull zone reads, a threat to run the ball, a threat to scramble. So it's going to be a great challenge for us on defense. In terms of their defense, tough, physical, hard-nosed, multiple. Like to bring a lot of different types of pressure. So it's going to be imperative for us to be able to match their toughness, physicality, and be assignment sound to make sure we can pick up all the stuff that they got thrown at you. They do a nice job on 3rd down with their disguises and try to mess around with your pass protections. So again, it's a great challenge. We're excited to have them at home. Noon kickoff, great crowd in Hard Rock, and we'll be ready to go. And then before I go for questions on the injury front, Don Chaney will be out for the rest of the year with a leg injury, and then Keontre Smith, we are hoping to get back perhaps after the bye week. We'll know more as the next couple weeks go by. So tough loss for Don. Obviously, Cam Harris, who made some really good runs on Saturday. This is his time. And Cody Brown and Thad Franklin, 2 young guys with a lot of promise, will be right behind him to help out carry the load at running back. Questions?
Great. Thank you, Coach. And we'll start with Kobe Price from the Sun Sentinel. Kobe, go ahead.
Appreciate it, Carter. Hey, man. Wanted to kind of follow up on the injury front. Are you able to specify what exactly, Keontre and Don's injuries are? And also with the running backs, do you anticipate maybe splitting up those reps between Cody and Thad, starting this Saturday, or do you think there's going to be maybe one kind of takes that, I guess, secondary role against the Spartans?
I think like what we've done in the past, I think we'll want someone to be the 2, and we'll determine that after, a week's worth of practice. Don, it's a knee injury. Keontre was around the knee, but it was a peculiar set of terms that I had not heard before. I wouldn't do it justice trying to explain what his exact injury is, but I can't give any more detail than that.
Next, we'll go to David Lake. David, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to follow up about the weak side linebacker depth. I guess, are you planning to roll with Wayne Steed there now? And And I know you said you liked the speed that Keontre brought to that position. Have you tinkered at all with, like, I don't know, Gilbert Frierson there, or James Williams or Chase Smith, anything like that?
We Avery Huff will be in the mix with Wayman, and Avery can run. I mean, he's as fast as anybody we have at back. I mean, but maybe not quite. I mean, he's close to Keontre. I mean, Avery can roll. He's been working towards this point, and he'll get his opportunity to get in there. You got to have some, the bullets come at you a little bit faster at will than they do at striker. So it's a little bit of a different role in there, and obviously Keontre was made for it. Keontre really played Will a lot at Chaminade, so he was more used to being inside the box. So I think at this point right now, we feel good with those guys who have repped there a bunch.
Next, we'll go to Matt Shodell. Matt, go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Had to find my unmute button. So yeah, hey coach, I guess I'll get away from the injuries for a second here. When you did review the App State film, I mean, I know you guys obviously missed a lot of opportunities. App State did also. Like, just big picture, like, I know you sort of said some positive things about the defense, especially the run defense, and the offense obviously was a few plays away from having a lot of points. But big picture, like, do you have some serious concerns about the team right now, or do you feel like you're just like this close to sort of putting it all together?
No, I mean, like defensively, for example, I mean, we held them to 3-3 run, which is really positive. We had 4 3-and-outs. There was a lot of really, I think 4.5 yards per play, which is kind of dominant. Now we had a couple of drives where we had gross miscommunications in the back end. That's our, that's the thing. Our third down defense was dramatically improved from week 1. But those 2 drives where, I mean, one we get out fought on a ball, down the field. But our eye discipline at defensive back and creating them to have a couple of explosive plays. We cut down the number of explosive plays that we allowed, and the explosive plays that we allowed in this game in the back end were just due to a couple of miscommunications. So yeah, I mean, they had some opportunities. They didn't have the opportunities that we had. That's the iffy game. So I think those are the things that we continue to work on. I think overall to your question though, like again, a team, what you do is you look to improve on what you did the week before, like and using defense as an example. We tackled much better this week than we tackled the week before. Mentioned the explosive plays, mentioned the third downs. Okay, now, hey, we got to make sure we're sound in communication, especially later on in drives, where tempo is getting to us and guys are having a hard time communicating and things like that. So that's our line of focus this week.
Next, we'll go to David Wilson from the Herald. David, go ahead.
Hey, Manny, you mentioned Tyreek, his punt return in particular at the top, but he obviously, I think, had 3 pass breakups for you. It seemed like he was, obviously it's only been 2 weeks here, but his best game so far, maybe one of the better games from a corner you guys have had in a while. Just kind of curious your assessment of his performance and on Saturday.
Yeah, I think you're right on there. I'd mentioned, I think in one of these settings before, you feel Tyreek's presence on the field, and that's what it looked like on Saturday night. You felt him out there, and whether that was in pass coverage, tackling, obviously what his impact on special teams. He found a way to impact victory. He found a way to help us win the football game. So, I think you'll get a lot of confidence from that, and that's the guy we expect him to be. And it was great that the ball went to him on the 4th down to win us a game.
Next, we'll go to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny, go ahead.
Hey, Manny, you mentioned the improved tackling. Just curious, who kind of stood out from a tackling perspective in your mind from the last game, where maybe you saw a big improvement from game 1. And then also just Nesta, I know you briefly mentioned him in the beginning. Obviously got the starting job back. What is he showing you now maybe that he wasn't in the preseason?
Well, Nesta was out most of the preseason. That's really what kind of put him behind the other 2. I mean, I think he missed about half of the preseason. So what we feel right now, we've got 3 quality. There are certain spots on the field we feel like we have more starters than starting spots. And I don't think Harrison Hunt or Ford have done anything to take a step back. But Nesta did play one of the best games he's played at Miami on Saturday. Not just from a production standpoint, but his effort chasing the ball, highly productive. And that's what we expect out of him. And I think it was really good, especially against an outside zone team. and you get to see the tangible improvement in his game from how we played that play a year ago and how our defensive tackles played that play a year ago. And still not perfect, but we've taken such steps forward, and I think that's what helped our performance compared to some of the games we had a year ago. You have something else?
Yeah, just who really improved, I guess, tackling from game 1 to game 2, where you saw, okay, we got them to do a better job with it.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody in particular that stands out that was egregious the other way. I mean, obviously it was mostly in the back end in game 1. I'd have a hard time singling out, one person, Manny.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Tim Reynolds from the AP. Tim, go ahead.
Thanks, Carter. Hi, Manny. 2 questions. First off, I can't find a time when when there was a team that opened its season with 2 one-play 75-yard touchdown drives like Michigan State. And, you typically don't think of a Michigan State program as having that kind of explosiveness. This team clearly does. I guess when you look at their offense, what jumps off the sheet just as far as it's not just the Wake Forest transfer either. I mean, there's a bunch of guys making big plays for them. Are they kind of like the poster kids of how college football is evolving in some respects, where every team has an explosive power?
Yeah, I think so. And probably also how a team can change from year to year based off of transfers, but I mean, a lot of their guys, some of their wideouts were players from a year ago. They just got explosive. They got explosive guys and in the kicking game as well. And like you said, it is multiple type guys. It is unique to see a team that scored on the first, play of each game. I remember Baylor with Art Briles had a streak where they scored on the second play of a game. It was bizarre, like 5 weeks in a row or something like that. But it catches your attention, and again, it comes down to, the Northwestern play was a run game. They cracked it. Safety's one-on-one, misses a tackle. And then once he does, they got enough speed to go all the way. So I think it's a credit to their team speed. And as I mentioned, I think it's gonna be a big point in the game because we saw what limiting explosive plays does in terms of playing great defense. And I think that'll be a key point for Saturday.
I have a quick follow, Manny. You've probably figured out by now that I don't know very much about football. But what is the philosophy behind winning the toss and hardly ever taking the ball? And it's not just you. I mean, you win the toss, you defer. It's like one of the unwritten rules. What is the philosophy behind that?
Well, there's a couple of things about it. I mean, one, what you're trying to do is you're trying to play for field position right off the bat, right? Where you get down there, you get a stop for your defense. And by the time they punt you the ball for your offense, I think is the exact thing that happened. It is the exact thing that happened in our game this past week, where the offense, instead of starting to minus 25 or backed up somewhere, their first time is somewhere closer to midfield. So you put it on your defense to go out there, get a 3 and out, and so now you get your offense, closer to the end zone. But the real big thing is, to me, is you're trying to steal that kind of make it, take it possession. We call it the middle 8, the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the second half, where, you can try to get a score right before halftime and then coming out, get a score, get the ball coming out, which we're actually thinking about the Alabama game. We got the 3, of course there was, massive separation on the scoreboard, but you still got the 3, get the ball, the chance, and that's how you can kind of make a 10 to 14 point jump, without the other team having the football. And that's obviously a big run. You don't get a chance to kind of make a run like that in any other point of a 60-minute contest.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Barry Jackson from the Herald. Barry, go ahead.
Barry, I think you're on mute.
Thanks, Carter and Cam. As you saw, Manny, a big disparity between snaps for your veteran safeties. You have 2 good guys, obviously, with Gervin and Bolden, who played most of the game, and the freshman safeties with Kinchins and James Williams playing very few. How do you think Hall and Bolden are playing? And would you imagine the freshman safeties might begin to play more, or would that solely depend on how they do at practice?
No, they will play more. I think the snap chart had a little bit to do with just the nature of the game, because obviously every possession was once, like I said, once it became 14-12, it was just going to be a tight game, and when you had to just see through victory. Those guys are getting experience on special teams, though, where they have a chance to impact victory or make mistakes that cost us, where they can learn from those experiences. Like I said, I thought Gervin and Bubba both played well. They both had some mistakes. They both had some communication errors that cost us. But like I said, I still believe both those guys have made major strides from where they were a year ago.
Next, we'll go to Gabby Uratia. Gabby, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I know you and some of the other staffers were able to get out on the road, watch high school games from the sidelines this weekend. Just like, what was that experience like for you, just for you guys as a staff? I mean, I know it's been a while since you've done that. I mean, recruiting, obviously the name of the game. Just can you kind of just walk me through that experience and just like what you're able to learn, just everything about that.
First, it's recruiting is about the people, and whether it's seeing the high school coaches that you've known for a long time, people in the school that you've known for a long time. Miami's a big city, but it's really a small town at heart. So to get a chance to go around, we had our staff, at all types of different contests all around, and a lot of guys on our staff haven't even been out with the Miami Hurricane shirt on, right? Because this was really the first time for us to get out in the evaluation period. So number one, it's about seeing people. Two, you do get to make some evaluations, different type of evaluation during a game. It's not the plays normally because you can see the plays on film. It's a lot of times the stuff in between the play. You get to see demeanor, coachability, the body language on the sideline. You get to get a little bit more of a piece of the puzzle together of really who the competitor is, other than just the plays that they can make between the lines. So yeah, it was great to get out, and our staff loved it and made great feedback. And we came back in our staff meeting and excited to see a lot of high quality football.
Next, we'll go to Chris Stock. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, just curious about Leonard Taylor. What's been kind of holding him back from featuring on your defense? And then also Al Blades Jr., we didn't see him out there on defense. How's he doing? Is there a chance you can get him in the mix there at corner or safety?
Yeah, Al will feature more. Al did a great job on special teams. The play he made, downing the punt, but bringing the punt back in, that's called affecting winning, and that was a winning type play. And so, yeah, I imagine he'll get more and more in the mix defensively. In terms of LT's, learning what to do. I mean, obviously he's got 4 veteran guys in front of him that are pushing each other and trying to play at a high level. But LT's making strides every week in practice. Expect him to get more reps as time goes on this season because obviously he's got a really bright future ahead of him.
Next, we'll go to Susan Miller-Degnan from the Herald. Susan, go ahead.
Hey, Manny. Wayman Steed, he's had a really long journey here. Can you talk about him a little bit, his progress over the years? I know he's had some knee problems in the past and how he's done this year in particular. We just don't know him very well.
Yeah, Wayman's had to overcome a lot. As you mentioned, he had a knee injury. It affected his conditioning at times because Wayman, when we recruited him, Wayman was the closest thing we had in terms of that will linebacker with great instincts, similar to Pinkney, just a, quick feet, quick thoughts, great instincts, really could play the run very well. But then he got hurt, and then he got hurt again. And these weren't just minor injuries. These were really, really severe injuries. And for a while it was touch and go as to whether Wayman would be able to play football again. And to his credit, he worked himself back. He got into where he could get in games a year ago, but to be honest, he wasn't really quite 100%. Didn't have his full speed back. He probably wasn't in the best of shape, as well. And when he came back this offseason, he really, obviously we knew competition would be everything at linebacker based off where we were a year ago. And he was a different guy in the weight room, different guy in offseason program, competed at the best level he had all throughout camp. Because he was determined to win the job. As we mentioned, Keontre did a great job, but we really felt comfortable with Wayman as well. And I thought when Wayman had to go in there, after Keontre went down, I thought, there's always gonna be a play or two you can do better, but I thought Wayman did a nice job when he was in there. So, he's a guy, he's been through it. He's been around here for a long time. So he knows what to do. And, and I think right now he's being rewarded for his perseverance.
Next, we'll go to Gary Ferman. Gary, go ahead.
Hey, Manny, how are you? Can you
Good,
talk a little bit about the head coaching perspective of building team confidence? Obviously, when you go through an experience like that in Atlanta and you're playing a team that's that much better than you, you're almost like starting from scratch in that regard. And talk a little bit about, from your perspective, what this week was like, and then how significant it was to get the win at the end.
Probably more than I anticipated. And it's not that the team in Atlanta was that much better than us. They played that much better than us that day, right? I mean, they won all the critical situations. They did all the things that if you don't win those situations, if you don't win turnovers, if you don't win explosives against them, that's the way it's going to look. But I do think that was hard. It was hard on everybody in the program, and it's, as you know, I always get weary talking about intangible things because they're hard to define. But it did feel a little bit like it shook us a little bit. So the resiliency to find a way to win that game means a lot. That was a hard one to win. And like I said, there's a lot of things that we've got to get better to not put ourselves in that situation. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was, we see it all over college football. It was about find a way to win. So I think the fact that our guys did that will give us some confidence. And I think now, with an opponent like Michigan State, I don't know when the last time a Big Ten team has come to our stadium and a chance to play in front of a big crowd and in a big national TV matchup. I think it's going to boost our energize, get us fired up, and leave Atlanta and even last weekend in the rearview mirror.
We got time for a couple more. We'll go next to Nick Mantis. Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Nick Mantis from WLNS in Lansing. When you kind of stated a little bit about, the big plays, those 75-yard touchdowns from the Michigan State and how eye-opening that was, when it comes to preparing this week, what specifically are you guys trying to make sure the defense is honing in on the most? Is it Thorne at quarterback, or is it just the multiple weapons? What are you preparing for the most when it comes to your defense?
Well, you have to prepare for it all, right? Because that's what they have great balance, because they can beat you running, throwing, or with quarterback run game. There's not a lot of teams that have the ability to do all three, and but it's going to come down to great pre-snap communication. I think that's my point. You can't get beat before the snap. You got to be aligned great. You got to communicate. You got to know what the cover structure is, what the run fit structure is on every play. Because generally speaking, when explosive plays happen from a defensive standpoint, normally for three reasons. One, they happen there was a lack of effort, and I do think our kids play extremely hard. A missed assignment, which I mentioned, a communication error where someone gets cut free, or missed tackles. So it's important, and a lot of times having great effort helps the tackling things. You get a lot of hats to the ball, makes it easier to tackle. So I'm sure Mel Tucker would say the same thing. As a defensive coach, you always believe the defense is in charge of those things, all three of those things. And if the defense accomplishes those things, then usually the explosive plays get limited, unless it's something now you just get beat one-on-one. And Michigan State's got guys that can make contested catches down the field against really, really good coverage, and the quarterback can get it on them, So, but that's it. If explosive plays come just through high level of execution, I think you're always willing to, you don't like it, but you understand that those guys are on scholarship too, and they have good players as well. I think, I'm sure if you ask Mel and I the same thing, his first instinct is going to be, if you play great defense and do your job and tackle well, normally you make it a lot harder on the offense to be explosive.
Thank you.
And we'll wrap up with Matt Wenzel. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Manny, when you look at Michigan State before the season, all the turnover, 41 new players on the roster, all the transfers, I was wondering what your review was of them at the beginning of the season and how that has changed now when you see that the new pieces on the field 2 games into the year.
Well, even last season, last season was hard to evaluate. You've got a couple different quarterbacks, that were playing, and everybody had weird things going on with COVID. It was just strange. So you see a lot of different types of performances. So you see some performances a year ago that make you think, yeah, this team's got a chance to be really good this year. And you see some other performances that are like, wow, and that to me was not unusual for a year ago with all the stuff we had to go into. So we knew this year, we knew the additions to the roster. We knew it's hard to be in year one of a program when a pandemic hits. That just the extraordinary nature of that, of coming into a program in year one and not being around your guys for as long as we all went through a year ago. So we kind of treat this whole thing as we knew, even in our summer scouting reports, that the first 2 games would really tell the story of who would be playing. And obviously it's told the story that we got a really good team coming in.